suppose you're given a function f of x, and you know that it's a linear function. And we also know that f of 1 is 5, and f of 3 is 3. Find the formula of f of x. How would we solve this? Well, the method that I'm going to show you now is not the only way. Some of you might know other methods, which you might find easier because you're used to it. But still, the method that I'm showing you is so important that you should still try to learn how to do this, okay? The first thing you want to think about is you're plugging in something into f, right? So that's called your input. And that's your x, right? And when you plug in something, you get an output from the function. That's your output. And that's your y. So you have to reinterpret this given condition, which is f of 1 is 5 and f of 3 is 3. You have to reinterpret it as when x is 1, y becomes 5. And when x is 3, y becomes 3. In other words, if you drew the graph of this function, it will be a function, it will be a graph, straight line passing through these 2 points. So if it's 1 comma 5 here, and 3 comma 3 here, then the graph would be this. Now the main method we're going to use is the point slope form. Okay, can you tell me the point slope form? Y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. Right. X is x, y is y. You never change this. What you do need to figure out is what m is, what x1 is, what y1 is. Now the easy part is x1 comma y1. What is x1 comma y1? It's a given point, which is 1 comma 5. You could also use 3 comma 3 as x1 comma y1. You'll get the same answer at the end of the day. But let's just put 1 comma 5 as our choice for x1 comma y1. So in other words, I will later replace this x1 by 1, y1 by 5. Now, what is not so clear at this point is the slope m. So you have to figure out what slope m is. M is change of y over change of x. And as I stressed so many times, it's very important that you remember that change of a quantity is its final value minus its initial value. Final value minus initial value. Where I'm thinking of this is our initial, and that's this one as my final. So let's actually calculate this. This would be what? What's y final? 3. What's y initial? 5. Divided by x final? 3. X initial? 1. Okay. So 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So if you divide, you get negative 1. So negative 1 is your slope. Oh, okay. All right. So now we got the slope. We got the x1, y1. All we have to do now is y minus 5 equals to negative 1, x minus 1. Okay. So that's the equation for the line. Do you have any questions so far? Now, at this point, you might feel like, this is exactly finding the equation of line. What's the difference here? The difference is that this is not in the function format. You have to solve this for y, and then y equals to a function of x will be given, and that's your function that you want to find. Okay, so let's do this. Y minus 5. Multiply this out, which is negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Add 5 both sides, and you get y equals to negative x, 1 plus 5, which is 6. So here's what we have. If you have the input of x, the output will be given by negative x plus 6. In other words, your f of x is negative x plus 6. And this is the final answer. This is the final answer. Yes?
So your y is your f of x?
Yeah, y is f of x. That's how you can think of it. Okay? Your y is f of x. Now we're going to do inverse function a few lectures later, or maybe today. And at that moment, you should also do the same thing. You're given an f of x, and you should replace fx by y to find the inverse functions. Same thing here. You write the equation and replace y by f of x. It's the same thing. Because f of x is the output when you plug in x. Now, how would you check if your answer is correct? Yeah.
You plug in one of the.
Yeah, just
five or three.
plug in 1 and see if you get 5. Is that right? If you plug in 1, you get negative 1 plus 6. What's that? Negative 1 plus 6 is?
5.
6 minus 1, which is 5. So it does work. How about 3? If you plug in 3, negative 3 plus 6 is 6 minus 3. So it is indeed 3. So it does work. So that's how you figure out the function.